In a similar manner, today, on an average, each and every organization is having, let's say, 20 to 25 vendors, different vendors altogether. They have really no idea as to which all data elements they are sharing with each other. And they have no idea about the security practices as well. Majority of the times what happens is that they run a particular program called the TPRM, a third-party risk management, which is, believe me, it's a checklist. Okay, they will send the checklist to the other vendor, they will just fill it up and then accordingly give it. Does that justify that they are secure? Absolutely not. The ransomware, which is quite famous right now, buzz is created on ransomware, right? 80% of the organizations who pay ransom, okay, get impacted by the same ransomware in another 6 months. Okay, it means that a particular hacker intruder comes inside their organization, establishes a backdoor. Okay, you pay the ransom, they'll decrypt the files, they'll say, okay, fine, here are your files, here are your credentials, here are your all the documents and everything. Okay, but the backdoor is still established, and after 6 months or 8 months or so, again hit by the same ransomware.
Hi everyone, welcome to CyberSierra webinar series. We are going to talk about cybersecurity, insurance, and broadly how we can solve cyber risk. Today we have with us Kaushik Pandey, who has spent a significant amount of time in the cybersecurity industry. Kaushik, over to you. Please do share your journey so far, how you got in, how things have been, what are you working on nowadays?
Thanks a lot, Pramodh, and thanks a lot, CyberSecurity team as well for having me over here. Having said that, I spent around 8+ years, so let's say around 9 years or so in the core cybersecurity industry, because many times what happens is that, okay, people start from IT, people start from different background, then they slowly move into cybersecurity. However, I've been completely focused in cybersecurity in the past 8+ years. That I also lead one of the particular PCI trainings known as CPS, Certified Payment Industry Security Implementer. So its advanced version was actually curated, launched, and delivered by myself. And there are more than 10,000 security professionals today who are certified on that particular, we can say, workshop or certification or standard as well. So that's a quick one about me. Pramodh, over to you.
What trends are you seeing in cybersecurity? What were you seeing in the early days? How have things evolved? Please cover some of these, top 3 or 5 of them.
Okay, sure. So I believe the major factor today, or the major change what we see in the industry, is that the attack surface, and the same things you will see in Gartner studies and Forrester studies and many different ones as well. Okay, but the attack surface is increasing like anything. When I say attack surface, it means that all of us know about COVID, right? Okay. We were hit by COVID. Overnight, we had to switch from work from office to work from home. The risk surface area increased drastically. And this was not something which, let's say, was a secret. Means it's not that, okay, Pramodh and Kaushik only knew that, okay, now people will be using their own laptops, maybe, or their own mobile phones, or many different devices as well to access the corporate infrastructure, which were not secured as per the industry practice, as per the corporate practices as well, right? This is just one of the examples. In a similar manner, today, when each and every one of us want to perform, let's say, a day-to-day job, we want easy accessibility. And whenever we need to have easy accessibility, we need to access anything from anywhere, right? So in that particular sense, the IT security team inside an organization are having a really, really bad time, because they really don't know that, okay, exactly from where the attack vector will come. And that's why all of these things will boil down to, which I think we have discussed in the past, is about zero trust security framework, where each and every application, each and every server, each and every system component, okay, needs to perform their own AAA, which is the authentication, authorization, accounting. And then accordingly, that can particularly lead the way. Okay, that's what, let's say, the attack surface increase, or let's say how exactly the attack surface is increasing, that particular thing will come. The second of all, will be around the identity management. Now, today, if you'll see, everything revolves around your user access. Okay, you have a privilege which has been assigned to your user ID, and then accordingly you can access different system components based upon the need to know basis. The least privilege is necessary over here. One particular trend, which is what we call it in cybersecurity terms, is initial attack vector. Okay, so initial attack vector means that what exactly the hackers or the intruders use at the very first instance to come, or let's say to penetrate inside your organization, and then accordingly they'll expand. So that is the initial attack vector, the IAV. So in which you will see the business email compromise, okay, plays a very high role over there. Around, I believe, more than $4 million worth, okay, on an average has been let's say spent on that, or let's say has been compromised. Okay, I'm saying average, it means that okay, it will be in hundreds to, let's say, thousands in multiplication as well, right? And business email compromises that, let's say, that particular intruder or the hacker will be focusing on the C-level executives. Accordingly, they will compromise their email IDs, and then they will start sending emails to, let's say, their IT admin, their system admin, and all, saying that okay, give me access for half an hour. There's a mission critical thing, and let's accordingly, let's say, perform a duty. And then, of course, if a particular person is getting an email from a CISO or a CIO or a CRO, or let's say CEO as well, they cannot deny it, right? And then accordingly, the things get compromised. So identity and access management will be playing a very crucial role in the coming days. And last but not the least will be around the supply chain management. That is very crucial, please. Like, for example, the other day we were discussing about one of the FMCG getting compromised as well, right? And they themselves didn't know that they were already compromised from the time they had bought that particular business 2 or 3 years back. So that particular business was already compromised 2 or 3 years back when they brought it into and they integrated with their own infrastructure. That particular malware just came from the older infrastructure to the newer infrastructure, because they thought they were trusted traffic. In a similar manner, today, on an average, each and every organization is having, let's say, 20 to 25 vendors, different vendors altogether. They have really no idea as to which all data elements they are sharing with each other. And they have no idea about the security practices as well, right? Majority of the times what happens is that they run a particular program called TPRM, a third-party risk management, which is, believe me, it's a checklist. Okay, they will send the checklist to the other vendor. They will just fill it up and then accordingly give it. Does that justify that they are secure? Absolutely not, right? And that's how they have no idea that okay, what all security practices are being implemented across their, let's say, the vendors, which compromises the security posture of the parent, or let's say of the parent organization as well. So these three will be the primary trends which I believe I see that are quite challenging, are quite daunting as well to majority of the CISOs across the world. Pramodh, over to you.
So let's recap these three. One is increasing surface area of attack. Everyone is digitizing. COVID has made that even more, and the surface area of attack has gone a lot higher. The third one that you mentioned is supply chain risk, right? I forgot what's the second one.
The identity access management.
Identity access management. And between the first and second, you mentioned something which is also becoming more and more important, and that is zero trust. Earlier, it was a concept that wasn't there, but increasingly, zero trust is now being discussed in many domains, especially in security domains. It started with, in my view, I came across zero trust proofs in the cryptocurrency world. I'm not sure if it was already there from before. But please share, how do you get introduced to this zero trust? What is zero trust, and how should people, view it and use it?
Okay, so zero trust framework primarily came into perspective late in 2008 and 9s, when one of the biggest search engine faced, or let's say, was hit by an incident. Let's call it an incident over here. Okay. Their entire network perimeter security controls went for a toss. And So one solution for them was that, okay, let's strengthen it more. Let's add more technology. Let's add more security around it. Okay. And let's say build a fortress, right? So that's the common, you can say, the security misnomer, which everyone would have done. But what they did was that, okay, let's go deeper over here and let's try to understand why exactly this particular thing happened. Because when the attack happened, it went from one particular system to the other. Okay, on what we known as from one hop to the other in a lateral communication, right? It means that even though I have secured the entire perimeter, even if one particular system gets compromised, gets affected, the others will get compromised in the same manner. Because once it has entered into your fortress, it can roam around the entire network infrastructure like anything. And that's where they came up with this particular because the concept known as zero trust security framework, where each and every system component, each and every server or application, whatever we call it, right? Okay, like today we have cybersecurity.com. Let's say it's an application, right? Now, cybersecurity.com, if it wants to give access to any of the resources which it has, like a few of the case studies, a few of the white papers, and all, it needs to authenticate that particular user. Okay. Then let's say inside, when I go into cybersecurity.com, I log in as a particular user, right? And I go inside, I was able to access a few resources here and there. But after that, I want to log in as an admin, right? Now, that's a different privilege. That's a different, you can say, authentication which is required over there. So can I go with the same authentication which I had? Not at all. It's a different application. It's a different console altogether. So let's log in over there with the same AAA, with the authentication, authorization, and accounting. And then let's get access to your console, or let's say to your admin console. In a similar manner, zero trust security framework behaves in the exactly same way that each and every system component which we have over here needs to authenticate you as a user, needs to authenticate you as an authenticated user, and then accordingly provide you access. And today, specifically during the COVID times, you can say majority of the organizations across the world have implemented zero trust security framework because that was the only way in which they could have saved themselves. Otherwise, they would have just been, you can say, performing VPN tunnels from their firewalls to end user desktops, and how exactly things were moving on between the VPN connections. Many of the times, even the VPNs have faced the man in the middle attacks as well, right? And which were very, very frustrating for them, which were especially for the IT admins as well. So that's why they went with the zero trust security framework, where each and every system component was able to authenticate for themselves. Pramodh.
Thanks for sharing. So is it fair to say that zero trust, like security policies based on zero trust concept, is now common, or is it becoming more and more common?
It's becoming more and more common, right? Especially for the organizations which have, let's say, given total work from home, or let's say work from anywhere. That's a new policy, right? The WFA, work from anywhere. You can work around the world from anywhere, and then accordingly we'll be able to support you. Those types of organizations, absolutely, they would have gone, I will say, okay, because that is one of the, you can say, no-brainer for these types of organizations, okay? Although, yes, even to architect such kind of security setup, it takes time. There are very much technologies which needs to be introduced. The server capacity, the servers on which the older applications were running, okay, those have to be revamped as well, because now this particular server will not do just the BAU, the business as usual activities, but it's responsible for security as well of the particular server. So I need to give them some power as well so that they can perform both the duties at the same time. So it's a time-taking process. It doesn't happen overnight. But yes, organizations which, let's say, are considering security like in their genes, they're absolutely going for zero trust security framework.
Great. This is a perfect segue into breaches. So companies are using zero trust policies. They have digitized rapidly. There is a trail of vulnerabilities that are being exploited. Some people are trying to fight it. Some people are not yet very prepared. what do you see in terms of number of breaches? You work with customers on a global basis, right? You have customers in almost every country. I think when we last discussed, we covered a lot of countries where you have customers. So based on what you see in the market, how many breaches are happening? Don't tell me the number, but what's the trend?
Breaches, right? It's a very interesting topic to say, right? And like the way we all, let's say, start a particular story, like once upon a time. Right? So let's start with that once upon a time. I believe the first breach which happened was in 1986 or so. Okay, yeah, that's where the first breach happened, and it was a major TV channel service provider. Okay, it happened in US at that time. There was a particular movie which was running. I don't remember the name of the particular movie, but there was a particular group of hackers known as Captain Moonlight or something. Okay, and they came out with those rainbow colored lines on the TV. Okay, and there was a message over there that okay, the Captain Moonlight has accordingly compromised the entire satellite. Okay, and what was the motive was that how exactly a particular TV channel service provider can charge $12.95 a month for the subscription. Okay, and that's what they were trying to portray, that okay, how exactly means in the best of your mind can you even charge that? Okay, that's from where let's say the thing started. Today, if you'll see the breaches, the records which are getting compromised are going in billions, not even millions, but billions. One of the most famous email service providers got impacted in 2013. 3 billion records were compromised. Faced penalties, lawsuits, and everything worth, I believe, 350 million or so. Okay, which brought down their valuation as well at that time.
Are you sure is 350 million? Because that's the amount that Adam Newman raised for his new company. 350 million.
It was in 2013, right?
Okay. So, yes, that's right.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
I
right
must be
now
confused.
it'll be
yes.
Exactly right now it's visible, but yeah, 350 million was the let's say monetary loss which they got impacted, because that was let's say in their public statement as well. Okay, that because of this particular incident, whatever happened, our valuation got less. Okay, and whichever company XYZ bought us, okay, they paid XYZ amount less. Okay, because of this particular breach. So that's why the particular amount flashes over there. Okay. After that, so many different breaches. Like one of the you can say credit risk bureau. Okay, got compromised. I believe it was in 2017, 18, sometime in US again, right? And I can see in Pramod's eyes right now that Pramod will come back and say, okay, why in US? Why exactly is happening in US? But okay, let's keep continuing right now. So yeah, that the credit risk bureau got impacted. Millions of records again was compromised. They got, or let's say, they were one of the first people, or when I say people, means organization, who got fined from GDPR as well, from the GDPR regulation. Okay, because you have to understand from this concept as well, right? Because GDPR was primarily came into force from 2018-19 onwards. Correct? That was the time when GDPR came into force, and this was the breach which happened at the same time. So an example was required to be set, and then accordingly an example was set around the same line. I believe that one of the social networking service provider as well, okay, got impacted using the same incident. I believe 2019 or so, if I'm not mistaken. Okay, it was in 2019 when this particular breach happened. Around close to around 100 million records were compromised at the same time. That was a challenge with the supply chain, right? Because they trusted a third party who was taking their information. That particular third party got compromised, and accordingly, these guys also got compromised. The same thing happened for a major MDR service provider, a managed detection response service provider as well. Okay, where their service provider got compromised, and then accordingly these guys also got compromised, right? And the thing is that these MDR service providers were connected with hundreds and hundreds of customers across the world. Okay, it means that okay, each and every one of them, each and every one of their customers got a potential breach attack. That okay, they will also get impacted in the same time. So breaches from, like I told you, from 86 to 2013, from 13 to 17 to 19, the last year as well, whatever happened with the MDR, provided the supply chain management attacks, is increasing. It's increasing like anything. And actually, the average number of days which an organization take to detect and accordingly remediate that particular attack, or let's remediate that particular thing, okay, is in the factors of 270 280 days. That's how much time an organization takes to detect and then accordingly respond and recover from these types of attacks. This is the current, you can say, statistics. However, I think last year, last year, it was between 290 to 300 days. Okay, so now it's reducing, absolutely, right? But it's reducing more from this particular single factor. It's because the hackers and intruders right now are more industry focused. They are not just going to every mom and pop shop and just trying to, you can say, do it. Like, I believe it was France, a particular hospital got attacked. A ransomware actually got impacted over there. And they were asking for money, of course, for ransom to, let's say, get their servers up and running. And what they did was they routed the ambulances to each and every corner of France. Because of which actually people also got compromised, people also got died, right? And this is not the first time it has happened. During the COVID times as well, the same thing happened. So what exactly these people did was that, and that's how the hackers work too. They compromise a particular organization and then they go to sleep. Means they will install a malware, they'll install their script, and they'll go to sleep. And they will wait for such moments where, let's say, they can take advantage of the situation. So during the COVID times, hospitality and all, okay, got really impacted due to these ransomwares, due to these malwares, which were already installed on their system, right? And that is one of the reasons why exactly when you see the average cost of a breach for each and every type of sector of the organization, right? Healthcare is the most impacted. There's a $10 million of an average cost per breach over there, followed by financial sector, which says another 6 million or so. Okay, coming down to the IT and let's say the others, which around to 5 million or so. Okay, so that's how the entire trajectory goes at that time as well. And believe me or not, but the ransomware, which is quite famous right now, buzz is created on ransomware, right? 80% of the organizations who pay ransom get impacted by the same ransomware in another 6 months. It means that a particular hacker intruder comes inside their organization, establishes a backdoor, okay? You pay the ransom, they'll decrypt the files, they'll say, okay, fine. Here are your files, here are your credentials, here are your all the documents and everything, okay? But the backdoor is still established. And after 6 months or 8 months or so, again hit by the same ransomware. So that's how the world is moving right now, Pramodh.
There are some very hard-hitting facts that you brought out in this session here. Thank you for putting them in front of us. Remember, you spoke about US. We should cover that as well. Do you see a large concentration of risk in the US, or do you see the threat spread out in a way that's global?
All right. I will say that the risk, the attack vectors, yes, they are focused more towards the US, or let's say towards the Western world, because everybody knows that that's where the money lies. Although we can talk about different economies across the world, But today, you and me both know that, okay, when we go and compare a currency, we compare it with the USD. All right, that's how it goes. That's how the world goes as well. Having said that, why exactly intruders and different let's say things of the world are concentrating towards US? It's also because of many of the technological dependencies as well, which these guys have. Because we have to understand, acknowledge this particular fact as well, that the world followed what exactly the Western world did at some point in time. And then, according the technology started migrating from there to us, and that's why they are called the first world countries, correct? Because they have already achieved that particular developed nation kind of an approach, and then accordingly we follow. It means that majority of the underlying technologies which they have, okay, is not something which has been developed overnight. It's since ages it's lying over there, okay, and then accordingly they are developing more and more on top of it. It means that they have a huge technological legacy challenges, which you and me do not understand at our length at any given point in time. I believe it was 4 years or 5 years back, something like that, where majority of the airlines of a particular major airline service provider of US came to a standstill. I think another 5,000 to 7,000 of their flights, okay, or let's say their destinations, their entire itinerary got impacted because of a system glitch in one of their legacy applications, which got done. Okay, and this is something which, of course, many of us know. I believe that at that time I was in somewhere in US. I was, and for 30 minutes or so, 30 minutes or so, the internet went down. Okay, the internet went down at that time. Where we, let's say, next day when we got to know what exactly happened, one of the major cloud service providers got impacted. And it was not a breach. One of their engineers actually misconfigured a particular application, misconfigured a particular system, and then accordingly the internet went down. It means that how much of our infrastructure right now is dependent upon these cloud service providers, which are based out of US, right? So it's not just, let's say, these breaches which are happening. Even if, let's say, we want to impact the availability of infrastructure, the availability of resources, and all, the same thing gets done at the same time. And US, as the economy shifts, will be the target market over there. Pramod.
That is a great insight that you shared about the environment, the milieu of breaches. How do you see companies responding to this in the US, outside the US, globally, right? Are they prepared? Are they quite unprepared? If a company is doing well in terms of handling cybersecurity programs and postures, what does that look like? In my opinion, in my work so far, what I found is that there's a lot of truth to what you said, that most companies, especially in our digital economy, are built on broadly two layers, right? One is your open source layer, which has a complex web of middleware. Some of it is open source, some of it is third-party tools. The open source tools, third-party tools, they have vulnerabilities. And then there's proprietary technology that teams are building and shipping, prioritizing go-to-market. And security is a second concern, right? I think it's a well-known fact. So the more you ship, the larger your surface area of attack, and therefore, it's easier to. And a lot of breaches are happening mostly because of misconfigurations. That's the start. You misconfigure S3 bucket, that becomes an entry point, right? You misconfigure your CIDR range, CIDR range becomes an entry point. So do you see companies being prepared for this threat? Because it is becoming a threat at, I guess, at the company level, at the national level, also regional level, right? It's basically now viewed as a threat, broadly speaking. And this threat can be posed by somebody who is sitting at home like us, or it could be a nation state that is preparing for war, right? So how do you see companies responding to this?
Based upon our interaction with the different companies across the world, organizations tend to get serious only when they get impacted. Okay, that's how it goes. And I want to, let's say, take them into account and say that, okay, no, you shouldn't do this. But having said that, we should also acknowledge this particular fact that they don't know security, right? Okay. Like if I'm talking to an e-commerce merchant, they know how to sell products, they know how to sell services, they know how to penetrate into a B2C market, right? They don't know that, okay, how to secure my servers. That's where they onboard third-party service providers, or let's say they onboard a team of security professionals and all, which try to do everything, whatever they can, but the company at its core doesn't know about those things. Or they were never developed in this particular manner. Because see, I have to sell a particular product. What I did, I went to a particular application developer. I said, okay, give me a web application. I want to sell my product. Right? Okay. Once I get the web application, as of now, I'm still a merchant. I'm not a web application developer. I'm not an e-commerce savvy guy. Right? I went, okay, what is the next thing? I need to host it. Okay, who is the hosting service provider? XYZ is also hosting service provider, right? Okay, who will manage these servers? ABC will manage this particular service, right? Who will manage security? Somebody else. FGH will be managing that particular service, right? In a similar manner, now I have 15 different service providers who are managing, and I, as of now, is still a merchant who doesn't know anything, who knows only how to sell services, how to sell things. Okay. Now, till the time everything is going good, I am earning big bucks on my money, right? I don't care what is happening in the other world, right? As far as my profits are increasing every day, every year. The time when I get hit by an incident, okay, that's where my eyes gets open. And I said, okay, boss, what just happened? So that is the difference between a proactive and a reactive approach, which we have over here. Okay. Majority of the organizations today are reactive. They are not proactive. I have seen organizations which have total employee count of, let's say, 50,000 to 1 lakh as well, right? Okay. Or 50 lakh, let's say 50,000 to 100,000 as well over there, who have a cybersecurity team of 5 members, 7 members. How exactly can you expect a cybersecurity team of 5 to 7 team members to manage the entire globe of, let's say, these many security folks, right? Okay. So are they turning serious? Yes, after a particular incident, after a particular breach, after a particular, let's say, disaster happens. Okay, that's when they get really serious about it, and that is one of the very reasons why exactly CISOs, which is this is the Chief Information Security Officer in a particular company, even right now as well, are not taken that seriously. Okay, although yes, they have got a place in the big table, but majority of the companies, what they do is that they say that okay, the CISO will report to a CIO, Chief Information Officer, or they will report to a CRO, which is a Chief Risk Officer. They themselves then got the seat at the table. They are reporting to somebody or the other. And then the IT budget comes, then the CRO or the CIO will have their own budget. And from there, small drops will come to the CISO as well for their own security budget, right? And in that particular security budget, they have to do everything. Because tomorrow, if a particular incident happened, this CISO is gone, right? Irrespective whatever they said, because we have been a part of many of the strategic board member team meetings as well, okay, where the CISOs actually go ahead and tell to the entire board, talk to the entire board and say that, okay, boss, if we do not implement this technology, if we do not implement this particular practice, we are looking at a very, very high value of risk over here. But the board says that, okay, no, we do not have budget for this right now. This is the limited budget what you have. Now you define your priorities and then accordingly go ahead at the same time. So that's where organizations, and that will be, let's say, one of the feedbacks from our end as a cybersecurity professional, is please learn from others' mistakes. Please learn from the other breaches, the other incidents which are happening. One of the credit risk bureau breach, which I told you about in 2017 or so, which happened, there was an, let's say, a server-side vulnerability of a particular service provider, okay, which was left unpatched for 3 months, because of which that particular breach happened. And the communication of that particular patch was released by, I believe, FBI as well, was released by CISA as well, was released by NIST as well. But that particular organization didn't. They didn't patch the particular server. Why? Because the business, because they were having, let's say, high value of business, and as soon as you deploy a major patch, you need to restart the servers, right? And they didn't have any time to do that, and then accordingly things got compromised. And that's why in US you have something known as a freeze period, right? Which you do not have in majority of the parts of the world, okay? But you have that in the US. From November and from December onwards, you have the freeze period in which not even a single change will happen on the production environment. Why? Because that's the time when they want to sell everything. That's the holiday season, right? And they say, I don't care about anything else right now, let me sell. And that's the best time for the hackers, intruders as well, because they know if there is a patch which is missing, if there's a vulnerability which they have, it will be left open. And accordingly, nobody will be there to even check them. And then accordingly, things get compromised. Many of the breaches which has happened during the time period as well, where the SIM solution, the MDR solution, kept giving alerts, a hell lot of alerts that boss, somebody is coming inside, somebody is trying to intrude, somebody is trying to penetrate and let's say take the data outside. But they thought it's a false positive because we are having too much traffic right now, because of which this particular solution is giving us no alert, and then accordingly things got compromised. Pramodh.
In a way, as long as business is doing well and you're not required by regulations, this will persist. Because imagine if you're making $100 million and a breach costs you $5 million, would you stop your journey to that 100 million for that 5 million? So as long, in my view, right, when I was listening to you, because when I think of my past journeys building companies, I can imagine the boardroom conversations. I can imagine the management team prioritizing. I can imagine the CEO, CTO, having a discussion around these things. And it's difficult to swing to either side, completely. The side of very strong security measures or the side of purely business, right? There has to be some middle ground. And that compromise middle ground is one where business gets prioritized, because if no business, what is there to protect, right? That's literally lines that I've heard in boardrooms as well, right? So I think as long as security teams are separate from the rest of the org, is going to be a tension. There will be a tension between security and the rest, because security is actually coming and telling you things that you cannot do or stop doing this, right? And when you are engaged in doing something, few people want to be told to stop. So there has to be a way where security blends into your software development lifecycle, or it becomes an integral part of the process for go-to-market strategies. And I think there are a suite of solutions in the market that we can look at. I understand you and I are both working on some of these, but we'll leave our companies out of it. We just want to have a good discussion around cybersecurity today. But is there anything else that we should keep in mind in trying to fix the current status quo?
First of all, to fix, we need to identify first what we have right now. Majority of the organizations have really no idea of what data they carry, right? How much data do they have, and what is the importance of that particular data. Once we understand that, then we'll go into the containers. Let's say containers means servers, databases, and all. After we go to the server database, then we'll go to the security perimeter, or say the security devices around it, right? So first of all, to understand the scope, to understand the data elements, to understand the assets which we have, right? Okay, should be a major factor, which each and every organization should be doing. That is the way reason why exactly, and as you rightly mentioned, that the local governing bodies need to actually come out and make sure that the organizations get compliant, right? That's what the need of the hour. And that is the way reason why exactly they're focusing on the PII data, not just on financial data, not just on the health data. They are just coming with PII data. That's it, period. And organizations are required to secure it like anything. One more fact which you said, and actually one of our customers, I cannot even say that, okay, which part of the world that the customer was, but one of the customer, came back and said that, see boss, to pay you and get compliant, right? I spent $100,000. If let's say and to maintain all the security practice and everything, another $300 to $400,000. So totally, I end up paying $500,000. Okay, for the entire security practices, whatever I need to maintain, right? And if I get compromised, I pay to the government only $100,000. Okay, the same thing what you mentioned, right? So why exactly should I go with you? Simple, period, right? Why exactly should I go with you? And that's where the reputation loss comes into picture, right? Because no money can buy your reputation again in the market. Once, and again, I'll go to one more link which you said earlier, trust, right? Although when you said it was more on the technical terms, now I'm coming to the literal meaning of trust, right? Once a particular customer, a consumer loses trust on that particular company, it's not coming back. It's not coming back, right? It'll take hell lot of time to build that particular trust again. And this is what exactly the companies need to understand. The organizations need to understand as well. Okay, that is not just about the monetary loss, which will go for a toss. It's also about the reputation, your market image, which will go for a toss. And after that, you cannot do anything. Okay, because once you have lost, you are lost. I've seen, or I'll say both of us have seen actually, so many companies after getting breached, after getting the compromise, they are overtaken by some of the other company. Some other company will just overtake them because their entire board says that, okay, boss, if you cannot maintain the security practice, the entire repo is gone. Okay, we have to revamp everything. So why not just sell it off? This particular kind of a business. So the local regulations and all those things will come, or let's say, are strengthening all of these security compliances every year, I should say. Okay, right now it's just a race. I believe it was a movie dialogue, if I'm not mistaken, that let's say the bad actors, right, or the villains or the bad actors, whatever we say over here, right, they just need to get lucky once. The security team has to get lucky each and every time when the intruders are coming in, right? So once that particular hacker, the intruder, gets lucky, the entire thing is gone. Okay, so the local regulatories right now are coming out with more and more stringent, you can say, factors. But one particular feedback, if it goes to the local regulations as well for the world, local regulations should be common for all. It should not be industry specific. Or let's say it should not be that, okay, if I'm from the government or if I'm from the private, or let's say if I'm from the semi-private, or what exactly it is. Because ultimately, we have to understand that it's the customer's data. The customer trusted you or the organization or the government with their data. If you are not able to fulfill your duty over there, then accordingly, the law, the regulation, everything should be the same for everyone over there.
Kaushik, this is excellent. Thank you for sharing. You know, our final question that we typically ask at the end of the webinar is, if you had a magic wand and you could wave it and, you know, solve some of the problems that you face while you're doing your work, what would they be? And it looks like you gave me the first part of your answer already, that regulation should apply to all, because every company is dealing with personal information, customer information that public trust companies to handle, right? What else? What else would you like to do if you had a magic wand?
I will steal the words of a CISO over here. Okay, I read it in an article over there. I will try to get this, you can say, thinking process into each and every one of us, which just goes in code and says, think before you click. Okay, that's it. Period. Think before you click. Right now, majority of the breaches are happening because we don't even think. We the phishing attacks, right? Okay, very high value. You can say the 5 million to 7 million is the average cost of a phishing attack. What is happening, and is one of the topmost initial attack vector. Okay, for every organization, even till date, even after so many awareness campaigns running across each and every company. Because I myself have seen, Because when we used to do audit, when we go for an audit, we assess. They say that, okay, yes, we are running a security awareness campaign for across the world. Every month we are sending, let's say, these many emails to everyone. We are telling them that, okay, what are the do's and the don'ts and all those things. Okay, even then, phishing attack is compromising majority of the organizations across the world, even till date as well. Why? Because first of all, the users, right? Okay, a user need not be disgruntled to actually impact your organization. A user can be silly as well, and it can impact your organization, right? Okay, I go to, let's say, a coffee shop over there, and let's say I start talking about my password, or let's say my credentials or something like that in open web manner, right? Or otherwise, let's say I am giving all my credentials on the same let's say the Wi-Fi portal which is there on that particular coffee website, because majority of the people across the world try to use the same password for each and every one of their logins. So once that particular coffee shop guy as well give you a login and the password, something like that, and use the same password over there to log in to any of their accounts, and it's gone. It's done. You cannot do anything over there, right? And why? Because we didn't check the link on which, let's say, we were trying to enter the particular username, password, and things like that. Believe that uh, today, today I read one particular article in which they said that, okay, SaaS service providers are getting impacted the most from the phishing perspective. Okay, so what exactly the attackers are doing is that the attackers are going ahead and compromising the SaaS service providers, which act as a platform, and then accordingly compromising their applications or the databases and all those things. And then they are routing the let's say the customers, like let's say you and me, to come over there, enter their credentials, and then gone over there, right? And that's why FBI released a particular an informational disclosure. So they're talking about credential stuffing. Okay, so what are the credential stuffing means is that the username and the passwords, okay, they supply like a brute force to all of these websites, and then accordingly they get that, okay, what exactly is happening. Let's say they will be able to get the authenticated access. Why? Because the same factor. One username and password got compromised. You and me as a user using the same password for 10 different sites, all the 10 different login credentials are compromised at the same time. Okay. So second most thing over there would be around the user awareness, around, let's say the factor that, okay, you and me, when we log in, let's think before we click on anything. That's how we'll be able to maintain a secure society. Pramodh.
This is great. Common regulations for all digital companies, and think before you click. This is a great way for us to end our webinar series today. Thank you so much for your time, Kaushik. There is so much that we can learn from you. I hope this podcast has captured some of the key insights. Thanks for sharing everything that you did. Thank you, Kaushik.
Thanks a lot, Pramodh. Thanks a lot to the cybersecurity team as well for having. Thanks a lot. Have a good one ahead. Thank you so much.